Do you still believe that measuring marketing is an impossible task? It's interesting because I was on LinkedIn this morning and I saw somebody had posted a statistic. They didn't say where it came from or anything like that, but I thought it was an interesting stat where they said that 70% of all marketers, marketing managers, marketing directors, CMOs, people in those types of positions, 70% of them are unable to measure the return on investment from their marketing efforts. And I got to tell you, going to be a lot of people out of jobs pretty soon, because if you can't measure it, then you can't prove value, right? That's exact that. Well, we all know that, right? Hey, this is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's Data Marketing Gunslinger. Thanks for joining me again this week for another Uncopyable Business video. This is actually going to be I'm going to talk to you here for just a minute, but then I'm going to give you a link to a webinar that I did a few months ago that's going to go into a lot more depth. It's a webinar that I did on how you can measure ROI from any marketing tool. All right, so stick around. I'm going to give you that link here in just a few minutes. But what I want to talk about today is the perception and where you start in order to set up measuring your marketing. All right. I recently had an email conversation with somebody who had exhibited at a trade show. Now, the trade show was the marketing tool. So we could have been talking about direct mail. We could have been talking about social media. We could have been talking about trade advertising. I don't know, advertising on a balloon, sponsoring a balloon. We could have been talking about anything, any one of those tools. This one just happened to be a trade show. And I asked this person the question. They are part of a company that consults for a lot of companies in this particular industry, and they help them go to market, I guess. And so I said, well, so how did your clients do at the show? And here's what his response was. Varies a lot. Client number one had 1,300 leads and business galore. Client number two sells only the Aero Primes and had a couple of promising contacts. Client number three mostly sells the other exhibitors as OE, etc., etc., etc. And then he finished his email by saying, "Tough question," and I didn't respond to him but if I had responded to him, I would have said, "No, it's not. It's not a tough question. The question was wrong. Or the perception of the question was wrong." See, I asked him how they did, thinking he was going to give me a very and he said, in the where was it, the first one, he said, oops, let me put that away. He said, client number one had 1,300 leads. Now that sounds great, right? That sounds really, really great. But really, did they get 1,300 leads? Or did they get 1,300 names? That's two different things. All right. Client two, couple of promising contacts. Client three. See, these things are. This is saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to be at a trade show, and so I'm going to go do my typical thing about a trade show, or my typical thing about social media, and then later on I'm going to try to figure out how do I measure it. See, that's completely backwards. That's so totally backwards. See, let's go back to the basics of business, which I always do, right? I love Peter Drucker. I think he's smart, one of the smartest guys I ever read. Considered the godfather, probably considered the godfather of corporate management theory, all that stuff. And when he was alive, he used to stress. He used to say that the place you start at is the purpose of business. And the purpose of business is to create a customer. That's the purpose of business. So now I will extend that a little bit farther, and I'll say that it's also to keep a customer, create and keep a customer. So when we look at any type of marketing efforts out there, we should always be asking ourselves the question, what is our primary objective for our company? Well, number one is to create a customer. Number two, keep a customer, or both, right? So then you ask the question, all right, now, what marketing tool should I be using that will help me do those? Let's just stick with one, right? Let's just stick with one. We'll say, what marketing tool should I use to create a customer? Now, that's a whole different discussion. I touch on it a little bit in that free webinar that I'm going to give you in here in just a second. But essentially, when we look at this stuff, when we're talking about creating a customer, if I, we think of the funnel, right? And we think about, coming in and we're filling this funnel, right? We're filling this funnel with all kinds of suspects. We start with suspects. We suspect that somebody might be a prospect. And then we get into the prospects. And a prospect is simply somebody who fits the profile of our target market. So it's sort of like we go down this funnel here, and as we go down the funnel, right? They go from suspect to prospect, where we definitely say, oh, they fit the profile. They're our moose. Okay, and then they go a little bit farther, where they indicate a level of interest. And when they indicate a level of interest, now they're a lead. They're now a real lead. And now once we've got the leads, then we want to move them through the funnel to where they then become a customer. So the question comes, how do we use this tool to create our customer? Right? And when we do that, we think in terms of where is our starting point. We'll just say this is our starting point here. We'll say that money, is our ending point. That they become that customer, and and we know that that it's not a straight line to get from where they're standing to that. That's just not the way stuff works, right? We know that it's probably some kind of meandering path. And we also know that we're going to go through steps in that path that are going to get us there, right? There are steps along the way of meeting with the customer, meeting with the prospect, identifying their needs, talking with them more, learning about their objectives, their planning, things like that. And we know that these steps are all along the way. So you see, the point is that if we know there are going to be steps, then we can work backwards from from here and follow these steps to go back to the customer. And so now we say, all right, we have to accomplish these things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, maybe we can. Maybe it's not 6 steps to get there, or 7 steps to get there. If this is 7, maybe it's 2 steps, 3 steps. I don't know. Okay, but the point is that we can work backwards from our objective and say, okay, how do we use that tool to fit that? So you see here now is, how do I use this tool? All right, how do I use this tool to accomplish that? That's the question. All right. And if I can get them to go to that step, then I've got them there, and then I start to move them down again from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So, and these are eminently measurable. Eminently measurable. They're always measurable, as long as we understand what it takes to get from point A to point B, right? Same thing on the other side, right? We've got, once we've got a customer, we now want to keep that customer. So they've gone through the top funnel, and now in the bottom funnel. In the bottom funnel, we want them to make more sales. Buy more from us, buy more often from us, get bigger orders. We want them to bring us references, referrals, things like that, so that the result of our relationship with them gets bigger and bigger over time, right? So we simply say, okay, how do we use this tool to keep a customer? Because that customer is going to stay with us. How do we do that? And that, again, is eminently measurable. So then the question is not how to measure ROI from this marketing tool. The question is, how do you use this marketing tool to achieve our objectives? And when you start there, that becomes measurable. Now, I haven't gone through all of it with you here today, but you can go watch the webinar that I put on a while back, titled "How to Stop the Stupid Metrics." How to measure ROI from any marketing tool, and it's a full-blown webinar. You can go there. It's free. Okay, free stuff here. That's what it is. It's free. Go to theadventure.com/marketing-ROI, and you can get that video right now, or you can sign up to watch it a little bit later if you want to. So that's it. Go out, measure ROI. This is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad, a marketing gunslinger. Thanks for joining me again this week on Uncopyable Business, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Same time, same bat channel, same bat time, same bat channel. And in the meantime, always remember, be uncopyable. See ya.